Hi everybody, and thanks for having me. I'm super excited that so many of you are interested in IT, and I'm certain it's not because there's currently no other stream. But let's start. So, okay, I can see some of you smiling over here, so that means you have seen the screen before. And for those of you who didn't get my joke, this is the so-called blue screen of death. And if you haven't seen it, it means your IT is doing a pretty good job. My presentation, or the title of my presentation, is an IT advice you have heard already before because it really helps. Have you tried turning it off and on again? But beyond that, it is also about the impact of the pandemic and digitalization on our IT support and infrastructure. But to put my presentation, its content, and myself into context, I'll start with a brief overview of Sana. So what is Sana, for those of you who don't come from Germany? It's the third largest hospital group in Germany with sales of $3 billion, which means that Helios and Asklepios are bigger than Sana. And we got more than 120 medical facilities, including clinics, medical care centers, and medical supply stores. And annually, we take care for almost 35,000 patients. 35,000 employees care for 2 million patients, and the share capital of Sana is 100% owned by private health insurance companies. I work for Sana IT, and Sana IT is a sub-company of Sana Klinik AG, and 350 employees work for Sana IT, and we mainly provide services in the hospital sector, but we also provide services for medical supply centers or medical supply stores. We provide services in infrastructure management, from hardware to network and backup management, from application management, including healthcare systems, HR, BI, and finance system. We also take care of the IT support, provider management, and project management. So we do it all. And finally, who am I? I'm Helena, and I know I got a pretty good hairstylist and photographer. If you're interested in contact details, let me know. Okay, I'm the Director of Customer Service, and once again, customer, from my point of view, or Sana IT point of view, are the hospitals or the managing directors of hospitals or medical care centers and so on. So it's not the patient, it's the hospital. And I'm also responsible for customer success management because all we want is making our customers, the hospitals, successful. We are a service provider, and we, even though it may or may not always seem like this, but we want to help. And my responsibility is always also the service management. So terms like idle services or defining services, because currently our service definition is kind of technical. So I'm talking about software, hardware components, Citrix, RD, firewall, and our customers don't really know why IT is so expensive. They tend to complain IT is getting more and more expensive, but don't really understand why. And I'll show you. But and I talked to a managing director and said, hey, we are working on getting more transparency in our fees, why we're so expensive. And he said, I don't want to know. Because now he's able to say, okay, IT is too expensive, make it less. And when he understands, he knows there is no way to cut IT because, it's all or everything that he wants. And I'm also responsible for the local IT units. Sana doesn't have, we have a centralized data center. We got data centers in most of our hospitals. So we got IT colleagues everywhere. And I'm responsible for almost 200 colleagues in Sana IT. Getting back to the pandemic and digitalization, we just heard that the future is already here. Well, I'm not sure that is the case in Germany, but let's take a look at the pandemic. These are some things that digitalization or the pandemic pushed in digitalization, and I'm talking about classic VPN. Like when the pandemic hit, we took care of our colleagues in the administrative sector, and that, like all of us, were supposed to work from home. But most of them didn't have any corporate device, so they only got their private ones. And yeah, we had to install VPN on their private notebooks. And that was quite challenging because we had to call each and one of them and install the software together with them. And another challenge was that our VPN software is not very intuitive, not very Apple-like. You have to enter your username, your password, of course, a PIN, and a token. So, and if you got one of them wrong, you got a cryptic message saying something is not right, but you are left in the dark which one. So, yeah, it took a lot of time and explanation and saying, sorry, but that's just it. And we have to live with it. Another thing quite big within the pandemic, Teams. We didn't work with it before. We had our telephone conference software, but not Teams. And yeah, we had to take care of it as well or implement it. And another big thing, doctors' video consultation software. We heard yesterday it was only web-based, no interfaces. Should have been a quick win, go live, ready, go live in 50 minutes. Yeah. In theory. In reality, the software was unfortunately not compatible with our standard web browser. So in a corporate environment, you're not able to change your standard web browser just like that because you don't know what else applications are needed or are based on the web browser. So we implemented another web browser hidden somewhere so not all our users were confused and had to explain which one to use when. So yeah, unfortunately not ready to go live in 50 minutes. It took several weeks for such an easy software. Yeah, once again, one big part the pandemic revealed beyond many others, the deficit in digitalization in our hospitals. And Ludmila reframed it or mentioned it already yesterday. That's why the German former health minister Jens Spahn put the KHZG, Krankenhauszukunftsgesetz, or in English it's the German Hospital Future Act, and provided $3 billion for the digitalization in German hospitals. So quite a lot. And Ludmila already mentioned it, the KZG law goes ahead with a Digitalradar, a survey that analyzes the digitalization score in our hospitals, and it is in average and in median 33, and the score goes from 0 to 100. And the hospital that got the high score got 64, I guess. So you already mentioned it, there's a lot of potential. To put it in MRAM score, this would mean, maybe that's more common for some of you, that 2/3 of the hospitals would get MRAM score 0. And another 27% MRAM score 1. So again, a lot to do in Germany. What is also quite interesting is that the Digitalradar also analyzed the IT expenditures in our German hospitals. And maybe not surprising, but still interesting, they go from 2.1% to 2.7%. And if you Google it in Germany, the average in Germany is something between 5 and 8%. So that kind of explains where we are right now and why. Yeah, but how do our users see digitalization? First of all, elimination of fax. Yeah, we heard it before, it's still a thing. Super necessary, we can't live without it currently, so yeah. The second step would be many innovative systems, including AI, 4K videos, and so on, and each of them, of course, exchanging data between each of them. From IT point of view, this kind of digitalization may look like this. All the fancy, nice digitalization software based on IT infrastructure that is not really ready. And I totally can get it because IT infrastructure is super expensive and you can't see the benefits in the working processes in the hospital. So yeah, why should you invest in infrastructure? I'll come back to that later, but yeah. And given that the cost pressure in the hospitals is super high, it's counterintuitive to invest in infrastructure. But the relevance of IT infrastructure becomes particularly clear when it fails. And I'm not talking about cyber attacks. There's so much more that can happen. For example, a Windows patch that goes wrong, a firewall update, or a small IT component that in extremely rare cases may cause your operating system to stop, reboot, data being unavailable or inconsistent, and I don't know which is worse, or a service provider that can't deliver printer toner and you can't fax anymore. It's worse. So am I talking about personal experience? Maybe. But so what can you do? Get your infrastructure ready. Either build a solid foundation or think about using infrastructure as a service or move to the cloud. In reality, the way would be building a solid infrastructure and then move to the cloud. And what do I mean by that? A solid foundation is already server and backup capacity. If you're thinking, not now, but you may already think now about 4K videos, but that would mean you need more server capacity, storage capacity, and that goes hand in hand with a larger backup. Automation. You would think that your IT is able to push software whenever you want a new software, is able to just play it on your device, install it on your device, but it's not that easy. If you are you have automation software, you are able to push it to every user. But if not, you need to install it on every single device. And this is not very common in German hospital or healthcare sector. Even 3 years ago, we weren't able to push software on our devices or even on the servers, even worse. So a server software package, just build them and install them on every server. You have to install software on every single server, and that's bad. And hardware, another thing. Hardware lifecycle management. I don't know whether you know or your IT knows how long hardware runs or devices run in your environment. As far as I know, hospitals like to run it until it breaks down. And yeah, given that Windows 11 is knocking on the door, the end of support of Windows 10 is running out in 2025, in 2 years. This means a huge investment for all the devices that are currently in the hospitals. I'm talking about several hundreds for Sana, or even 100,000 or millions even, because the software or the devices are not compatible with Windows 11. Yeah. And data management, we already heard it in several other talks. I'm talking about data of our employees, patients, but even our IT data. Sometimes we in IT don't even know if an employee left or suddenly is here and doesn't have any accounts. And the users are wondering why. Yeah, because we don't know he's there. So there's some stuff to do. And either way you go, you need to get your network ready. When you're talking about cloud, make sure that you got bandwidth, you got monitoring tools, you got segmentation tools, prioritization tools, and it's not as if you can just plug your laptop into a network. It's not like that. You need to make sure it's ready for cloud or more devices or another software, 4K. Don't know whether the bandwidth will make it. Virtualization, another super important thing, and service management in general. Whenever you get a new software or whatever, make sure IT knows how to support it. It has to be part of the project to make sure when there's an issue with it, whom to call, who can solve it, is it a service provider, can we solve it? As far as I have experienced, the software is suddenly there, the project has ended, and then everybody asks everyone, and in several cases the project manager, how we can solve the problem. And asset management is another thing. Do you or do we know what assets we got and how they are configured? Mainly, I think no. At least we don't know in this size. We don't know all of our routers. that we got switches, we got firewalls, and of course we know in each of our data centers, but not overall. So we don't know what happens if one of our firewall breaks down. Well, at least for sure we know, our users will let us know. But yeah, it's this thing. And building an asset management or CMDB is super, super important, but it means really, really hard work. That's, yeah, super necessary. And whenever a server breaks down, you will see, okay, all of these devices are currently running on the server, so I can already let the users know, hey, the server is broken, I know we are working on it. But as long as you don't know, and currently we don't know when the server or a single server is down, who is impacted by that? So yeah, it's hard. And once again, standardization, super important as well. In Sana, I would say we got all of the KISS system we got in Germany. We got them in Sana as well. If you have got any issues, we may have had them before. Yeah, so making workflows, even in the hospitals, aligned is important. And even in the software, do we need all of the KISS systems or maybe only 2? I'm sure we all know the answer, but yeah, getting to this standardization is expensive and yeah, costs money and time. And if you move to the cloud, you want to make sure that you don't only got one internet service provider, because when this line breaks down, you are offline. So you want to make sure you got another one. Security is getting more and more important, of course, in both of the streams, but given that all your data is no longer in your data center, but in another data center, you want to make sure that the service provider takes care of it and it's super secure, and you as well. And whenever you got an incident, there's a typo, you want to make sure that the response time is really quick and your issue is resolved quite fast, because you are only able to work remotely. You can't go down in your data center and take a look at it. You will no longer be able to do so. And of course, you got some legal issues in Germany. We already heard that Helios is not yet in the cloud either because of GDPR. It's super hard to move our system into the cloud. And another thing, data governance. Again, given that the data is in the cloud, it's necessary to put another structure in your data. You can't have all these data spots in your company. It's all in one spot. So you need to make sure who is responsible for which data and who is taking care of it. Yeah, so far. And let's take a look at the IT support. And yeah, let's look at the end user IT support, a story of misunderstanding and reconciliation. So how do, from my point of view, users define IT support? A person you call when you are frustrated, hate technology in general, and wish it was 1973 and you were not dependent on them. At least that's my experience, because I tend to try everything and really want to make sure that the problem is not sitting in front of the screen, or that I am the problem. And that's why I test everything, try everything. And when I finally call IT, I really am frustrated. But who is sitting on the other line? Someone who chose technology over working with people and now has to handle your emotions and IT issues. So it can't work. So what is the impact of digitalization on our IT support? We're talking about as soon as we got our paper documents some way digitalized. Right now, digitalization means we scanned the paper work and now it's digital, kind of, but it's not structured. But as soon as we got it in a structured way, and everything is entered into our software and IC systems, we need 24/7. Right now, we got support 24/7. It's call on duty, but the person you got on the line is someone who can restart the server, maybe change your password. That's all. But all the guys who are really deep in the systems and know what to do, there is no support because it's quite expensive, and we are not standardized. There's no standardization in Sana, because for 24/7, you need standard processes and standard software. Otherwise, it's super expensive. Another thing is self-service. I prefer to help myself. As I already mentioned, I want to make sure that I am not the problem. And we want to make sure that every user can choose whether they directly want to call or whether they want to search a wiki to make sure or look up whether they can help themselves. Currently, we don't have this option. So when you have an issue, you need to write a ticket, of course, or call IT. These are your two ways. Yeah. And I'm sure not all of them want to look up the self-service. When there's a surgeon having an IT issue, of course, you grab the phone and call IT. But I think in administration, they want to take the time and maybe look up how they can help themselves. Yeah, the devices, I think the devices will kind of change, given that KZG, the German Hospital Future Act, put so much money in the German hospitals. I think there will be more of tablets, I guess, or even more laptops. Currently, we got thin or fat clients a lot. And maybe because it's super expensive, they will still run longer because, yeah, the maintenance. But then the maintenance is more needed. Or you can think of Endgeräte as a service, device as a service, to just rent it and not buy it. Could be an option. Yeah, but then I don't know whether this goes along with the KZG. Yeah, it could be an issue. And then you have KZG, or German Hospital Future Act, only covers the costs of maintenance for 3 years. So after that, all the costs for the digitalization is on the hospitals, which is huge. And another thing, when it comes to IT support, focus on your topics. What are you good at? We, for example, in Sana IT, I think we're good at healthcare IT. And we are not good at taking care for our printers. As I already mentioned, we got a service provider for this, and maybe we need to more analyze what else can other service providers do better than us. And another thing, standardization. Once again, if there's no standard, IT support is super complicated. Our colleagues can't know every single system and help you if there are multiple of them. If we only got one or two systems, it's easier to even know the system a bit better. So, yeah. Oh, I'm super quick and got 10 minutes left, but let me try turning it off and on again. That was it, and thanks very much.